to just create money when you think it's needed, without considering an exit plan, without considering what that really does to distort the markets from the real economy, without considering tomorrow, that's a very reckless job to have if you do it wrong. What the Fed has done the entire time is get its timing wrong and overstep its power. So there's no reason to create $4.5 trillion worth of money to, quote, save the economy when you don't see any signs that that's what it's doing, right? There's some very, credentialed economists working at the Fed and for the Fed. And what it seems to me that constantly what's happening is there's not an accurate, just assessment of what's really going on for real people and their real paychecks, their real pocketbook.
The Federal Open Market Committee's overarching focus right now is to bring inflation back down to our 2% goal. Price stability is the responsibility of the Federal Reserve and serves as the bedrock of our economy. Without price stability, the economy does not work for anyone. In particular, without price stability, we will not achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. The burdens of high inflation fall heaviest on those who are least able to bear them. This is the opening paragraph of Federal Reserve Jay Powell's speech at the 2022 Jackson Economic Symposium, an annual symposium that brings together central banks, finance ministers, academic luminaries, and leading financial market players from around the world. The speech, titled Monetary Policy and Price Stability, seeks to underscore the Federal Reserve's unwavering resolve to bring inflation down to 2%, regardless of the price to be paid to achieve the goal. This is especially clear in the next paragraph, where Powell warns Americans to brace for pain. While higher interest rates, slower growth, and softer labor market conditions will bring down inflation, they will also bring some pain to households and businesses, Powell stated during his speech, continuing by adding, "These are the unfortunate costs of reducing inflation. But a failure to restore price stability would mean far greater pain." With that eloquent speech, Powell and the U.S. Central Bank seem to have erased their own contributions to the present state of the economy. Though Powell might now seem like a much-needed hero swooping to the rescue at the last minute, the Federal Reserve has contributed significantly to the present state of the U.S. economy. According to Nomi Prince, an American journalist and author who writes about the U.S. economy, this hero is no hero at all. In a recent interview with famous author Robert Kiyosaki on the Rich Dad channel, Prince speaks at length about the role of the U.S. Federal Reserve in the current state of the economy. This promises to be an enlightening video. So, sit back, relax, and watch it to the end. Also, ensure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications. We also love to hear from our viewers and subscribers, so ensure you drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything helps with the YouTube algorithm, so we can continue to bring you these videos. Let's dive right in.
The thing is, when the markets are doing well because of fake money, it's very different from them doing well because companies are producing, or because wages are, keeping up with inflation, or because consumers are buying, or because of any of the things that create a long-term stable economy, including growth, including development, housing, infrastructure, all of those things that require real money, real investment, and have real growth.
Yeah.
When you're just investing in financial assets, which you can't touch or feel, because the money is so cheap and just available from central banks, well, then that's the result. The markets get ahead of the real economy, and the real economy just can't catch up because it doesn't have that kind of free money. And that's what we're in right now. But now we have an inflation problem because of various reasons, including the fact that the Fed forgot inflation was happening as it was rising, called it transitional. But even if the Fed can't affect inflation, people are feeling inflation. And now they're seeing rates creep back up, and that's hurting the average person's ability to even buy a home with a mortgage right now. So whatever the Fed does, it winds up hurting the sort of average person and the real economy, because they don't care where money's going. They will basically, it's like a hate-seeking missile, right? They're going to find where the money is hottest. They're going to leverage that money because it's cheap and available. That's where the bankers go. That's where their friend investors go. That's why BlackRock, who's sitting on a $9-10 trillion book of assets, will go. It's where everyone who has the ability to get money cheaply will push that money, and they want it to make money fast. They want money to reproduce quickly. And in that way, they want money to be like a virus, produce quickly, reproduce quickly. But that doesn't mean it has the staying power to create that long-term money flow. Like, I know, Kim, you look at this a lot, that cash flow on a long-term basis, say from real estate or just from foundational growth of the economy. It's in and out. And that's what we've seen with these bubbles.
As Prince has explained, the Federal Reserve spent the better part of the last 2 decades strengthening the markets and leaving crumbs for the economy. And here is the result of their actions, which is why there is hardly any real long-term growth for the economy to fall back on during these times of uncertainty. Let's get back to Prince as she speaks about the consequences of it all for the average American.
If the Fed hadn't stepped in and created money at that moment, that money would not have been available. It is about the Fed basically, sort of moving some digits on a computer, creating this sort of fake money, and then buying bonds or buying the debt of the US government or of the housing market or whatever it might be with that fake money. And that creates this additional bubble. I think to your point about the IRS in general, and this gets kind of to the core of that disconnect between the markets getting sort of free and leverageable money from central banks around the world, including the Fed, and what's going on in the real economies is people aren't able to keep up. But on the taxation side, because the government isn't basically making enough money, right? It's borrowing money. That's how we run the country. And that goes back to this disconnect between the markets and the real economy, because if the real economy is not keeping up, that means it's not making enough money to basically fund itself. Whether that's on the private side or the public side, it's just not making enough money. And so the taxation that you then go through is related to the fact that we've got this gap between what the real economy makes and what it looks like the markets are doing because they have this fabricated money going into them. It's all connected. To just create money when you think it's needed without considering an exit plan, without considering what that really does to distort the markets from the real economy, without considering tomorrow. That's a very reckless job to have if you do it wrong. What the Fed has done the entire time is get its timing wrong and overstep its power. So if there's no reason to create $4.5 trillion worth of money to quote save the economy when you don't see any signs that that's what it's doing, right? There's some very credentialed economists working at the Fed and for the Fed. And what it seems to me that constantly what's happening is there's not an accurate, just assessment of what's really going on for real people and their real paychecks, their real pocketbook. Like, for example, right now, unemployment looks like it's low. So the Fed's saying, all right, unemployment's low, we can raise rates to fight inflation. Not that the two are related, but let's pretend they are. So the reality, though, is that a lot of people are working multiple jobs. And those multiple jobs don't really come in as multiple jobs or fractional jobs into the Fed's numbers, into the Fed's thinking. So whatever they think about unemployment is not related to people's experiences. And so, for example, with inflation, they missed the whole boat that they capsized in terms of creating money to be leveraged throughout the paper markets over the years. They didn't consider that inflation. They did not consider that they were inflating the markets, even though they were inflating the markets. I completely didn't even think that was a thing. Then we get to COVID and they do it more. And then we get to a situation where food prices are higher, energy prices are higher. And the Fed has nothing to do with that, but now they're fighting it. So it's like they're positioning themselves as this inflation fighting hero when they don't notice it happening when they create it. And then when it happens in an area they can't control, they're like, we're going to fight it by raising rates and doing all these other things. And they create instability in the markets and the economy as a result. So I don't think they understand what they're doing.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Non-Farm Payrolls Jobs Report, the economy added 315,000 jobs in August, the lowest monthly gain since April 2021 and much lower than the 526,000 July figure. The unemployment rate also rose 3.7%, with the labor force participation rate also advancing to 62.4%, the highest level since March 2020. All these suggest that the economic decline is worsening, and there is going to be a lot more pain for everyone. What do you think about Nomi Prince's interview? Please drop your thoughts, comments, and observations in the comments section below, and hit the like button. You can also subscribe to the channel and check out our other videos to stay updated on the global economy. Thanks for watching.